Then 2022, Cyril Ramaphosa again goes on a platform, addresses ANC supporters and says, we will remain committed to enabling expropriation of property without compensation. 2023, the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, again, talking to the media, they ask, this Expropriation Act, can you tell us a bit more? And he says, the ANC remains committed to expropriation of property without compensation. And then he's asked, but this bill talks about nil compensation. Is that any difference between nil and no compensation? And he says, as we understand it, it is the same thing. It's only a matter of semantics. Yeah. So, and these are just the examples off the top of my head. So if the ANC spends the past 5 years constantly saying, our mission is to enable expropriation of property without compensation, and this expropriation bill is going to be our vehicle, that doesn't really fill you with a lot of reassurance when in 2025 they say, no, actually the plan was never expropriation without compensation. It's only nil compensation. These very, very isolated instances, they tone down the promises incredibly and radically. That raises a red flag for me because 5 years in politics is nothing. What you said 5 years ago in politics remains relevant, especially if you're the president of the country or the deputy president. So, I mean, there's so many other details of the bill that I can go into that are big concern, especially, for example, the court process that is outlined as well. We can go into that if you want. But those are the two, really the bedrock, the foundation of our concern. Do you want to talk about the court case side of it as well?
Yes, I do want to talk about the court case. But before we get into that, I guess my question here would be, is the concern at the moment that it can be executed and not necessarily that it is being executed? Because I think even in listening to what you've said now, I'm hearing almost the saying, what you're saying is, actually, no, the government's been very big on this idea of that we are going to expropriate land, and it's been a very big push for them to do so. As of this moment, they haven't necessarily done so, but what I'm hearing is that because there's been an intent to do so and that it's been spoken about in that way, there's a growing fear, and now that the bill has been signed, that fear is actually means it's maximized to its capacity.
That pretty much is the summation of it. AfriForum has not claimed anywhere that the government is currently using that bill to expropriate property without compensation, but it has granted itself that power, and that's worrying, especially when it has, over the past 5 years, promised that it will use that power. That's the concern.
Okay, that makes sense.